Are you a monogamist who has some very strong opinions when you hear the word polyamory? Are you a polyamorous who's heard the same misguided opinions about polyamory over and over again, but you just don't quite know how to respond? Either way, this video's for you. Now don't get me wrong, this video is not just to scold monogamous people and tell them that they're bad or wrong. The goal of this video is to explain why polyamorous people don't like hearing certain things and build some mutual understanding between us. So let's hop right in with the first thing you shouldn't say to a polyamorous person. I could never do that. This one's not so bad. When a monogamous person says this, they're usually just trying to relate to the polyamorous person. But to a lot of polyamorous people, this comes off as pretty self-centering around something that doesn't really affect monogamous people. And I know for a lot of polyamorous people hearing this, your initial thought is, well, it's not about you, or then don't. But I like to approach this with a little bit of kindness. Most monogamous people don't know that we've heard this thousands of times, and they're just trying to meet us in the middle. I usually respond to this by saying, yeah, it's not for a lot of people, but it makes me very happy. Another thing you probably shouldn't say to polyamorous people is, I've never seen polyamory work. The ironic part about this one is it's usually said to polyamorous people in happy, healthy relationships. So the person who's saying they've never seen it work is actively seeing it work. There's also a tendency for monogamous people to see the very worst of polyamory. Monogamous people often see their other monogamous friends try out polyamory in order to fix their existing relationship. In the polyamory community, it's pretty well known that that rarely works out. So it makes sense why you've never seen polyamory work. There's also a conversation to be had about what work really means. A relationship ending doesn't necessarily mean it was some colossal failure. I've had several relationships where the intimate part ended, but we continued being very good friends after that. I'd say those relationships worked. There's also a big double standard here because obviously the vast majority of monogamous relationships don't last forever. I usually respond to this one by saying, well, it works for me and has for a long time now. Speaking of a long time, another thing polyamorous are tired of hearing is that polyamory never lasts. We don't expect monogamous people to have seen a ton of non-monogamous relationships. It's just not really the community you're in. But just because you personally haven't seen polyamory last doesn't mean there isn't a large, thriving community of happily polyamorous people who have been in their relationships for a long time. I even have a 30-minute video on my channel talking to my friend who's been polyamorous for 30 years. Polyamory can definitely last even if you haven't seen it. This one's also annoying because you can't really argue against something that someone is claiming will happen well into the future. If you're liking this video so far, please give it a like, that really helps me with the algorithm. And also, because people tend to click away from the video on the last few seconds, I'd like to take a few seconds now to tell you that the best way to support this channel is to go check out my shop, where I have a whole bunch of cool stuff, including my new Middle Spoon Problems polyamory shirt and my new polyamory sticker sheets. So if you're looking for some cool polyamory themed art for yourself or a gift for your polyamorous friends, go check out my shop after the video. Please stop telling polyamorous people that they just don't want to commit. In monogamous relationships, commitment and intimate exclusivity go hand in hand. But they're not the exact same thing. Polyamorous people often think of commitment in terms of how you're committed to family or friends or a hobby. Being committed to those things doesn't mean you can't have others. Commitment to us means being dedicated to a person and that relationship even when things get a little tough. And intimate exclusivity is not required for that. Another way to not open a conversation with a polyamorous person is to start talking about sex immediately. A lot of mainstream exposure to non-monogamy does revolve around sex. And it's true that sex is a very important and valid part of a lot of relationships. But that's what polyamory is really about, the relationships. If polyamory was all about sex, then asexual polyamorous people wouldn't exist. But they do, and there's a ton of them. So if the first thing you start talking about when you hear polyamory is sex, the polyamorous people around are probably going to assume you don't know what you're talking about. Another one we hear all the time is polyamory is just cheating with extra steps. I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten this comment. Cheating means a whole lot of different things to a whole lot of different people, but I think what everyone can agree on is that the core of cheating is stepping outside of the boundaries of your relationship. So if the boundaries of your relationships allow for intimacy with others, it's not cheating. Cheating is something you do not have permission to do. The difference between something that's cheating and not cheating simply comes down to consent. If there's consent among all parties involved, it can't be cheating. Here's the fun one: when someone calls a polyamorous person a cuck. This is usually said just to throw out an insult to a polyamorous person and not any sort of actual criticism, but I have seen people legitimately ask the difference between cuckoldry and polyamory, so let's talk about it. Now, I could go back and forth all day about the textbook definitions of these two things, but as a person with experience in both the polyamory and kink worlds, I'd like to talk about the differences in a more practical sense. Cuckoldry is an inherently sexual kink where a partner gets sexual gratification from their partner having sex with other people. There is always some kind of power dynamic at play there. Polyamory is maintaining or desiring multiple intimate relationships. This isn't inherently sexual, nor does it have to involve any sort of power dynamic. Although my partners do have other partners that they have sex with, I don't get sexual gratification from that. I'm polyamorous, but not into cuckoldry. People like to say this as if it's some sort of horrible insult, but honestly, there's nothing wrong with consensual cuckoldry. It may not be my thing, but for those who are into it, if nobody's being harmed, then you do you. Cuckoldry says absolutely nothing about the strength of someone's character. Cucks aren't weak, they're just doing what brings them happiness. I don't blame monogamous people for not knowing things about polyamory. It's just not something monogamous people need to know a lot about, and there are so many myths out there misinforming them. Speaking of polyamory myths, I have a video where I bust quite a few of the most common ones. There's actually quite a bit of crossover with this video. And if you're a polyamorous person looking for more advice-type videos, check out the playlist here. And of course, don't forget to check out my shop and hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to get notified when I post more videos. Until next time, peace.